everyone. Sorry, I forgot to push a button. I'm was adding people as some moderators. That way you can smash spam. People that come in all the time, we'll give them some moderation privileges. Todd, you're in here all the time. I don't know if you want it, but you can have it. We'll save that. Now everybody should have a wrench on their names. Should have wrenches. Well, guys, I did it. I pulled the trigger today. And I'm going to share with you the absolutely astronomical shipping price that it's going to cost me to get this new piece of equipment here. It was more than I thought it was going to be honest with you, and I thought I was overestimating when I did it, but yeah, it was pretty high. Let me see if I can open it up here. Where's it at? Here it is, from our good friends at Betterby. Let me zoom it in a little bit. So let's present screen share. I guess that's it. And we will add to stream. And I will even give it its own screen here. So, yeah, how you like those apples right there? All right, so you ready to see the hey, Keith, your box came today, brother. It's here. So if you want to come this weekend and pick it up, that's on you. Let's see. So the equipment, $3,495 and 65 cents. We don't want to leave those out. 65 cents. You ready? Shipping. Oh, here's the other thing that you need to do. If you haven't done it, you need to do it. Go ahead and register. It's free. Register for your tax number, because if you notice, there's no tax on this. No tax. However, freight, $554.51. That's right. $554.51 for shipping. Yeah, sure, Keith, whenever you're ready, brother. It's fine with me. But it's just on the porch. It costs, well, if we do the math on that, what is the math? Let's do the math. So if we take 554.51, and we divide that by the cost of the item, $3,495.65, and then multiply that by 100, right? That's like 15%. Well, actually, it's closer to 16% of the total item in shipping. Yeah, they charge me 16% for the item to ship it. So, yeah, I got to do that. That drives me crazy, guys. Absolutely crazy. Obviously, it's the price of doing the bee business, because down here I don't have any suppliers to get that from. So that's what makes me want to be that guy. It's not this. It's not the $3,400. It's not the $3,400 or $3,500. You know, if you go to buy something and the price is $3,500, and the $3,500 piece of equipment, you've already in your mind said, okay, I've got that money. That's what I'm buying. And you pull the trigger, right? Boom. You knew the price of that going in. The freight part of it, because nobody's around here, that's a lot of money. I mean, why don't, and Man Lake would have just said, okay, this piece of equipment's $4,000 and it's free shipping, you know, and then, you know that, hey, it's $4,000. I'm paying $4,000, and that's what it is. So some of you guys may have or may not have seen last night's stream of what I purchased. And I will share it with you. Here comes Charlie. I will share with you what I purchased. But
got it.
Let me see. Hold on. I thought I had it already popped up, but I don't. It's this piece of fine machinery right here, which I have to share. Hold on. Charlie knows what it is. Add to stream, make it big so everybody can see. View larger. That's what I bought. So $3,500 on sale, mind you. $3,500, but it costs $554 to ship it from New York here. Just think, if I didn't work, I could have drove to New York. I could have stopped at Charlie's on the way up, hung out, could have got something to eat. Then I could have went, what is it, like 3 hours from you, maybe a little bit further north?
I would say at least 3 hours.
Okay, so 3 hours. So then the next day, go up, grab it, and come back down, right? And stop and see Daisy up in New York, Steve at Daisy's. Mm-hmm. And it probably would have been, in my opinion, I would have felt like that $500 was more worth it to me, right? Because it would have cost me gas and hotel and all that and dinner or whatever, but it would have been an adventure. This, you know what I mean? This just $500 to ship. Come on. But it is what it is, guys. That's the world we live in beekeeping, I guess, unless you live in the Northeast or somewhere like that where you can get it. Yeah, that's only 400 bottles of honey. That's it. I went out and I took a peek at some of my colonies, and Charlie, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Is you know, I don't know, man. My flow is not. It's not hitting. They're not just slamming it in there like you would think they would be. I've got a colony, brand new queen, 10 frames, has had a medium super on it, freshly waxed for 2 weeks. They're not even really fooling with it. Just a few bees up in there. They don't care about it. The bottom box is packed.
Have you under supered?
Under super what? There's only one super on it. I'd have to put it under the brood box. You know, that's the only way I could get away with it. And maybe they would draw comb in there and then I could move it up to the top afterwards. But
Alex says, yeah, his stuff is falling off too.
And 15 to 16%. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, that's you know, I said that my big purchase for this year was going to be that scale, right? Well, evidently the scale filler, but evidently that went out the window, right? So now we got the scale filler and this. So now with that, I believe it says with the bottler on there, you could put 30 frames on that side. And now I've got the other uncapping tank, right? So I could put 70 frames. So I can get 2 full extractions, or at least, you know, fill that all the way up, load up my extractor, and then I've got the next ones ready to go in. But at the same time, I could unload some more. So, yeah, it's down here. And I've the only thing I could say, it's got to be the colder temperatures that's doing it. I mean, I've got one day, Charlie.
It was 59 degrees here this morning.
Saturday it's supposed to rain here with a high of 58 degrees, a low of 53. Now, James is like, well, that's a heat wave. But our average high here is 85 degrees this time of year. So 58 degrees as a high, I mean, you're talking 27 degrees difference. So
yeah, well, you know, that's that global warming.
So I've got two. I'll have two steam uncappers, right? The tabletop uncapper, which may come up for sale if you're in the area. I mean, I'm not gonna take an L on it. I'll take a little L, but I ain't taking no big L on it. So
an L? What do you mean?
A loss. I'm not taking a loss on. I might take a little bit of a loss, but not insane. That if to buy that product now is $495, and I bought it for $430. So I'll sell it for $400 if somebody wants it with the steamer and everything. But
you're talking about the uncapping tank,
the tabletop one, the tabletop.
Just the slicer, just the slicer.
Yeah. So, and I've only used it one time, guys. It's just been sitting there. But hopefully that will help me with some of the wax issues that I've got. And, hey, Charlie, using your, pounds of honey to replace equipment, I've only got to sell about 1,000 bottles to break even now.
That's 1 year's worth of sales.
Shit for you. At my rate, it might be 3 years. But that's kind of the thing. So I consulted with the board of directors, my wife, and I showed her. I said, "Look, hon, look at this video. Look how easy that is." And she's like, "Don't you have something like that?" I said, "Well, yeah, but not quite." She said, "It's your money. Get what you want to." So I was like, "Okay, well." So, it looks really easy. However, there is a caveat to that. I will have to separate my frames, right? I'll have to separate my plastic frames from my wooden frames and my medium frames from my deep frames. So it'll have to be.
Why different. Is that? Why medium versus deep?
Well, because you have to adjust the height for the deep frames, right? And the medium frames, the plastic frames are a little bit narrower. So I'm going to have to do that. I did not do a video on my steam uncapper. There is one on YouTube right now. Let me see. Actually, let me see. So let me make sure it's not going to show some commercials, which it probably will. Why is this only a 10-second commercial or a 10-second video from Better Bee? And it's loading, so we'll see what happens over there. Yeah, the width will have to be adjusted for the difference between the medium and the woodenware is a little bit fatter than the plastic, right? So there's a couple adjustments, but I think the medium width of a wooden frame and the deep width of a medium frame are of a wooden. There should be the same. It's just the height is different then. And so I don't know why that video is not loading. Let's see if I can get it to load faster. Oh, now of course it pops up when I hit the reload button. It just popped up right before it started reloading. Skip the ad. Pause this. All right, so this is the one that I had. Share screen again. Share screen. Add to stream. Oh, shoot. You're probably going to... Let me turn the sound off for it. But this is the one that I currently had. Which you just slide it across there, and it cuts one side, and then you flip it on there and cut the other side, and voila. That's what it's supposed to look like. However, I find that it works better with fat comb. And you see his comb is pretty fat in this photo. And the other one that I went to is, matter of fact, I should have just made that larger. So that, well, yeah, okay.
But now see, he's cutting that comb down all the way to the frame.
Yep. And but it has to be wider than the frame, right, for that to happen.
I mean,
So
then the
what
bees
I
got to
got
build it back up.
is I got the now the one that I bought is this one. Is this one here, and it's still a little bit fat, but whoops, sorry. But you just turn the handle. He turns it on. The blades are steam heated and they vibrate back and forth. And hopefully you're not getting your ears blasted right now. I don't know.
No, there's no sound.
Okay, so and then it pushes it through. The only difference between this and the automatic one is instead of a handle, it's got a motor over there, right? And a controller. Everything else is the same about it. So this is,
well, you can just get your wife to crank and you can load.
Yeah, that's wishful thinking. But yeah, so you do have to adjust the widths and stuff like that on the blade. So it is there are some adjustments that have to happen depending on
it will do it deep.
Yeah, so you see that bottom this bottom piece right here?
Yeah.
You adjust these 4 bolts on 2 on each side and slide it down for the deep to go in there. And then as you do it, it pushes the frames down the table, right? You can scrape off the top, wax, dump that to the side. No, the steam just heats the blades. It's a closed system. So it heats the blades and then it definitely recycles. Well, yeah, I wish the 40 frame line, but it does. It does. Once the steam goes up and heats the blade, it comes back through the other side, and then it goes back into the tank and it recycles everything. So, yeah, that's what I did. So, if it's paid for, if it gets out tomorrow, of course we got the long weekend, so who knows? Maybe next week I get that showing up.
Hey, Steve.
And we'll see. So hopefully I've got enough honey to extract on that thing this year, and keep it going. But yeah, that's the thing that we did. And who knows? Maybe Brian from Flower Street to jump in here. And I also saw that they have when I started window shopping, that they have a creamer attachment that sits on a 5-gallon pail. So that's another thing that maybe in the future I get. But man, everything is so expensive. It's just.
Well, kind of hold off and
Jason Crook.
See how your crop comes in and
let me see.
Get your bee. I mean, you already got your apiary up to 50, so that's good. You're where you should be. And all that. You could have looked at them over at Hive Life. Did you look at them when they were there sitting on the pallets?
No. I knew I would be in trouble if I started window shopping too hard at Hive Life. I didn't have any way to get the stuff home anyway. So yeah, the shipping is just the Jason sold.
He needs more eyes to just the extraction line, but I always look at it this way: grow into your extraction line.
Yeah, well, James, see, that's where you and I differ in our train of thought too, because I think you're already there to justify the extraction line. Just in the time savings alone. The time savings, if it lasts 10 years, it cost me less than $500 a year. So that's That's another way to look at it. You know, I don't know. There's not a kit where I could buy the motor, but I'm sure there's a way that you could add a motor to it, or a belt drive, or some gear system to do it. And the only way that you could buy it is to hold on, sorry guys.
Hey, Carl.
And so it's an investment. And I went to one of my non-beekeeper friends and was talking about it today. He's like, wow, $4,000. And I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, are you going to have to finance it? And I was like, no, I can pay for it. And he's like, well, you're building your business the right way. He said, you're not going in debt to build your business. You're buying your stuff as you have the funds to do it. And so that made me feel good, you know. So it's one of those things to where, I don't know, did I need it? Maybe. Did I not? We'll see. Yeah, well, business, Mike, I don't know if I want a business. What I want is sustainability. I want at some point for my bees to pay for themselves, and they have been. They have been paying for it. It's just a matter of if you want, you know, how hard you want to work at it. So at this point, what I'm trying to do is streamline what I've got to be able to make it easier to do. So I went from a 8, an 8/4 framer, and went from that to a 30, right? And then got the bottling tank, and I'm slowly adding stuff to it. Well, I don't know how slow, slow is all, I guess, perspective. Yeah, I don't have one near me, Brian. That's what I was looking for. I looked for that before I ordered it. And the closest one that I saw was either Blue Sky Bee Supply, which is in Ohio, or Better Be in New York. So I just have to grow into my equipment, I guess. You know, it's kind of like, you remember back in the day when you'd get hand-me-down clothes that were from your older siblings, and they would be a little bit big for you, but your mom would be like, yeah, you'll grow into it. You know, we'll just keep these. You'll grow into them eventually. So that's kind of how I've done my beekeeping as well. So was it fully automatic? No, I couldn't afford it. So I went with what I could afford, and just went for it. So we'll see. Worst case scenario, I'm sitting on a uncapper, right? Yeah, it cost me $554 to get it shipped down here. So that's the thing. So I also contact them. Well, what do I have to do to be a Better Bee distributor? So I have to send an email is what it amounts to. And that might be the better option for the long run. You know, if I could sell licensed gear down here, then people could save shipping. They could just come and order it from me, right? And get it direct shipped maybe to their place, and not really have to stock all that stuff. So I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But it's definitely, growing. Things are going good. I mean, I can't complain about it. I just need my bees to produce enough to make it worth my while. And then I've got the store. the store has called. Not only has he called me several times, but when he couldn't get me on my regular phone, he called my work, and my work transferred his call to me. And I'm like, dude, I understand you want honey in your store. And I said, my fear is I'm not going to make enough honey to warrant having space in your store. It would be better for me to show up on a Saturday with a table and just sell it to your Saturday customers and pay you to have a table out there for the day, or something like that. So, he's like, well, do you have a couple of cases, even just a couple? Yeah, I do. I have a couple cases, but then I'm looking at, if I sell you a couple cases, I'm paying to put that in your store, where I could sell those couple cases right here, no problem. They're going to come get them and buy them. So, who knows? I also bought a new printer to print my labels with for my honey bottles this year. Supposedly it's one of those Epson eco tanks.
Yeah, that's right, Honey Bee Company. I did almost 1,600 bales of hay today. And I did 2,100 bales the last 2 days.
I've heard my bees growl at me too. I don't know what that means, but I thought I imagined it. Let me see. Not prepping to swarm. But, I don't know what's going on. No, I do 15 a pint. 15 a pint, 10 for a 1 pound. And
that's a pint jar.
A pint mason jar.
Mason jar
for $15. So if you figure $1 on average for a mason jar, pint mason jar, I'm making $14. And that's what it's been.
That's what I did. Honey Bee Company, what did you do after lunch? That's what I did from 11:30 this morning until 6:30 tonight.
He made it sound like that was half a day's work. You should have had that done by lunchtime.
Yeah, right.
Get up at the ass crack of dawn and start slinging hay. And I got on old Charlie on the phone. I'm like, man, you're too old to be slinging hay bales. What are you doing? You already got a bad.
I wasn't slinging them. I have a thrower on my tractor.
So hey, Brian, if you're out there still, come join us, man. Click the link. And what is Connex? Oh, it's Connex trailer, his Connex box. That's where he made his honey house. I've got the honey house. I mean, I've got a 350 square foot honey house. Is it all the way finished? No. I've got to get some electrical work done in there, but I've been running everything off extension cords so far. Hey, Charlie, how far are you from Route 1 splits off of 95? That's what Carl's asking.
Route 1 and 95.
And
I'm not far from you. I'm just thinking, where does it? Route 1 doesn't hit 95 that I know of. I'm off of 152 and 95.
Well, hey, Russ, it depends. He might just be renting that space and selling it directly to the customer too. So, but that is cheap. Yeah, it's a shipping container, Connex. Yep, I saw that video where he's got a Connex box that he uses for a shipping. I've got a 350 foot. It was a screen porch. Now it's enclosed. I need to replace the lights to make it brighter in there. I need to run some power and get it tied into my electrical box so I can, have outlets out there to get it going. And who knows, man, that I don't know. So it don't matter. Farming, hard work. and Route 1 hits 95 in PA.
It does.
That's what he says. Let me see. Does anyone here use the Lyson wax spinner or any brand of wax spinner? I don't. I don't have a wax spinner. I find that if I just leave my wax, at least the cappings, if I leave the cappings in the bottling or the uncapping tank, that it'll drain off of it pretty well. But I don't. Yeah, and bees are hard work as well. And I've got to figure out what's going on with mine. They're doing good. The bees are doing tremendous in the 10 frame box. But after that point is when it starts being skeptical. Some of them are moving up and some of them aren't. So maybe what I need to do are the ones that aren't moving up. Those are the ones I need to give the cappings that I've spun out back, or the frames that I've spun out back to, and maybe that'll entice them to come up.
Yeah, now where he's talking about, that's up in 95 in Route 1. That's up around Philadelphia. I'm half an hour from Baltimore. So I mean, you're way north of me, kind of northeast. Several hours.
And the maybe James, I don't know what James is doing tonight. Maybe he'll jump in for a minute. He might be out.
Yeah, Wilmington area. Wilmington area, it's a good hour away from me. And I'm south on 95 from Wilmington.
And I haven't I haven't done any markets or any of that stuff. So my thing is I just haven't produced the honey to warrant doing that, because if I do it, I want to be more like Brian, to where it's consistent. When people come, you know, that they can come every week and they'll know I'll be there. And I just haven't had that volume of honey to have to worry about that.
He's working on his new project, which is a honey extraction line.
Which is a honey. Well, you know, I had a conversation with him and I said, hey, if you're designing your line, why not design your uncapping tank to where, you know, you got the grates on there and the uncappings fall on that, and then the wax with the little bits falls through. Why wouldn't you just make it to where there's like a Z pattern in there where the honey runs down into a clarifier and then the clarifier comes over, but it's all one unit, right? And he's like, yeah, but it could be hard to, you know, get plugged up. And I understand that. So, but you could also have it to where that just rolls in underneath like a secondary piece, right? And then you put your bucket on the end and it comes out in the end of the bucket and it's 95% clean. And then you just have
for him, it would go to a hose and a pump.
Yeah, hose and a pump it in there. And Bob's your uncle, as they say. And then I think I got this cancer growing on my head, just out of nowhere, just grew right there. So I got to get that checked out. So Hope, what I've got deep brood boxes and medium honey supers. And the medium honey supers, I sprayed with a little bit of 1-to-1 when I put them in there to try to entice them to come up, and they did. And then they went back down. They just cleaned it up and went right back down, you know? So if I'm using deeps over deeps, then yeah, I do. I pull one up to seed it and try to bring them up. But I'm just not, I think it's the temperatures are just throwing everything off here, you know, because we're like,
well, if it's cold like that, they're clustering more so.
Yep. And then, I mean, it's looking like James's colonies. When I go out there in the morning, I can see bees clustering, like hanging down underneath the entrance, right? I can look in there and see the bees, which is good. But I ordered, Russell, what did he say? I ordered 6 from Lappy, had them next day UPS, got them installed Tuesday. Wanted to make nukes for 2 bee weaver queens. They still haven't showed up. Kite Branch honey is $21 for 44 ounces. Yeah, you know, some of those guys, I don't try to compete against them, Mike. I don't. There's people that sell honey more than me, and there's people that sell honey for less than me. They're not my customers, right? So I don't try to. I know what honey I produce, and I need to make the most I can off of my honey without, robbing people. So I feel like I give them a fair deal, and that's what I go with. Yeah, that's here. High of 58. That's 20 degrees. Hey, Steve, I checked your nukes today. I checked them 2 weeks. 2 weeks tomorrow. They've been in there. And one of them is really going to work. They filled the box. The other one was a little bit lighter, but they're doing good too. So I'm just keeping them in the one box, letting them work that out, and then moving forward. I've got a little one, Healthy Honey. Are you in South Carolina, Healthy Honey? Where are you at? I've got a small one. Now, if I go down the road, I see stuff blooming, but I don't see much. If I'm in my yard, I don't see much. Along the highways and everything, they got a bunch of stuff going. But I made sure all of those mite treatments were. Oh, you're in Irmo. You're right across town from me. I'm in Hopkins. So I know Irmo. I've got a friend in Irmo that he claims he gets more nectar than, but he's by the lake, right? So he's right by the lake. So he's probably got a lot more vegetation growing right there. And hey, Lisa.
Now, Tritone talks about Caucasian queens. And so what's the big advantage to that now?
It's the latest, greatest queen. Bob Binney and those guys talked about it, so everybody wants them.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, it used to be, what was it?
Carniolans.
Everything was
and then
Carniolan.
It's a Carniolan Italian hybrid. This year, everybody's on the Russian train. Gus Mitchell started talking about Russian.
Then a year or two before that was
Saskatraz.
That lasted about a year.
Well, I know I ordered Saskatraz queens from Oliveira's, and some people love them, but they did hideous here. And I don't know if it was the heat or what, but they just did not do good. Good night, Ed. And so, we're just.
That's what I say at Larimore.
Yeah, and I think they're, obviously, if you're doing artificial insemination and stuff like that, you can kind of keep those genetic lines going as much as as possible. But first time you do a graft and let them open mate, you don't have 100% queen anymore, right? So it's like, well, the new ones are not 100% anyway.
Well, I kind of like where Kamen says, he started doing his own grafting, and he just kept, taking grafts from queens he thought were really good, and he developed his own queens.
And I'm having pretty good luck with that. I've got a few of my queens aren't really doing like they should, and they need to be replaced. But at this point, I feel like I've got what I've got, and so we're gonna see how it goes. The Caucasians are supposed to be gentle, make lots of propolis, and overwinter well like Kearneys.
Well, you can have all the propolis.
So yeah, I mean, here all my colonies make good propolis, and I think it's just from the abundance of pine sap that we have around here that they just glue everything down. I took a nuke cover off today. I didn't realize how bad it was, and I flipped it over, and I could see daylight in the crack through the lid, right? And they were propolizing that bad boy together. So I just ripped that cover off, chucked it to the side, and put a new cover on it, and they were good to go. Yeah, I'm kind of like the Cayman Reynolds theory too. It's like pick my best queen that's doing the best right here, make those queens, and those, you know, those are doing good. Now, some of the nukes I got and stuff, they're not my queens, right? They're sitting over there, but next year they'll be my queens. You know, next year they'll get my queens in it. Yeah, my queens are doing pretty good. I mean, again, when I made the splits, that I wasn't expecting to get honey from those colonies, and they're kind of proving me right at this point. They're kind of, except for my starter finisher. The starter finisher is doing good. Once it got a mated queen, it's going crazy. But the rest of them are, you know, they're building out their nest and they're surviving at this point. So that's what we got going. And we're just going to keep it rolling. I feel a lot better, you know, this year. Right now, I don't feel like I have to worry about swarming too much. I don't have to really manage my colonies that much. It's just when they're full, put a box on them. When that's full, put a box on them. You know, it's easy management at this point.
I'm a Pop Secret guy.
Pop Secret? Movie theater butter?
No, it's just I got the Pop Secret this time, and it seems like it pops better.
I like the
I should be on tomorrow night. I think I'll be able to get out of work quicker tomorrow. So
I like the smart food popcorn that's in the bag already. The white cheddar. Love that stuff. Love that stuff. But yeah, so that was what I wanted to talk about tonight. Is I talked about a little bit last night on the purchase I was making, and you know, is it worth it? I don't know. We'll see. At some point, it'll probably be worth it, you know. But is it worth it right this very second? I don't know. It's one of those things, you know. Is it better to have it and not need it, or need it and not have it? You know.
well, it's like boxes. Last year I bought 20 supers. I might have used maybe half. And this year it's hard to get woodenware, and guess what? I used them all this year. So, you know, always have stuff in the wings ready to roll.
I need to buy some more oxalic acid. I was looking at the price they have for the legal oxalic Apioxyl or whatever they call it. I don't know, but it's quite expensive. For like 8 ounces, they're charging you like $30 or something like that. I'm like,
I can buy 20. I can buy 40 pounds for that amount of money.
Yeah, and it's the same crap, same stuff, in my opinion. Oh, you're late, man. You don't get a recap of what I bought. You need to be on time. You need to be prompt in the lessons that we teach here.
Yeah, we give valuable information.
We give valuable information out for free, because we very rarely do we get super chats or anything. It's free here. So we just come on all times of the year and night and evening and give out free stuff. I bought a manual steam uncapper, and another tank comes with it, so, or another uncapping tank. So that's what I ordered. It should hopefully, I mean, it depends when they send it out. I don't know. I guess I'll get another notification saying it's shipped at some point. Do I even? Yeah, there it is. Gmail. Let's see. Yeah, but I don't know when it's gonna ship. I've got to.
He's got one, but he wants another one. Look at that.
I had a tabletop. Lisa. Peer pressure. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. It depends, Darren. I bought the I'm a fan of licensed because I feel like for the amount of money you spend, you're getting a quality product. That's my opinion. You know, I like it, and so Russell, the tank that I have currently without the steam uncapper on it should hold 40 frames, and the new one with the uncapper on it should hold 30 frames. So between the two of them, I should be able to hold 70 frames.
I'll be back.
Uncapped. And bring me a beer back, Charlie.
Yeah.
And so I'm I'm ahead of the curve as far as products to what I actually need at this time. I've got more equipment than I need for my operation size. Yeah, I'm the only one that's monetized right now, so the and it's just hey, so I came is I haven't seen. Well, I think Tim and Hannah were on here earlier, so we were talking about stuff. I was driving down the road today, and I saw a church had a sign out front that said mug, and it had a hand silhouette holding a coffee mug, and it said men under God, right, is what mug stood for. So I thought I would make a mug that said bug, bees under God on it. Paul, thank you, sir. And 49 away from 500. You know, it's kind of funny because it starts out slow and you get that little slow growth, and then all of a sudden, once you get monetized, you'll start. Brian, you guys are making me feel bad now. I was joking. You don't have to, but I do appreciate it.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
I might actually get a payment from YouTube. So the
maybe you'll be able to pay your monthly bill. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's
these things ain't cheap. You know, it's costing me $25 a month.
Oh, for StreamYard?
For StreamYard.
Lee's paying for this one, and Lee don't come on hardly anymore.
He's working.
Yeah, he's working, and
he's working so much he's burning himself out. And I don't think he realizes it.
Dennis, keep them closed up for about 2 days in there, brother. Otherwise, you might come back out and they won't be in your box anymore. I've got a couple of them that did that even after leaving them in there for a few days. Oh, no, man, I can't. I don't have room for a cowan. I would have to buy a building to put the cowan in, and then I would have to start charging beekeepers, hey, just bring your honey over here, and we'll run the line for you and extract your honey and then give it back to you. Give it back to you, and I'll just tax you some honey off of it.
Yeah, hey, Paul, Lee's just working 7 days a week.
Yeah, Lee's working a lot, and the last message I got from him on Tuesday night was he was having some issues around his house. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate that, buddy. You guys are amazing. Oh, by the way, I did finally get the rest of the money that paid for the suit for Tim and Hannah. So it took 2 months, but it came. Brian.
Hey, Brian.
What's up, guys?
You look like you've been wearing sunglasses and out in the sun.
Yeah, it's getting nice out here. I've been working. This has been a crazy week, so
it's getting colder here.
Yeah,
I have 58 on Saturday.
Yeah, I heard you say that we're in 52 every morning. We get huge fluctuations of temperatures, so we deal with that pretty much all summer long. But then it shoots up to 90. But we had rain for a week. And now we just had a week of kind of fairly okay weather after the smoke blew out. and then like sunny days with evening storms. So, and then this is the last week of school. My son's graduating this week. My wife's birthday is tomorrow. So it's been a super, super busy week. But after this weekend, it's all beekeeping.
Well, see, and that's the thing is with the cold temperatures here, it's still everything's acting wonky, man. I don't know if we're gonna have a later flow, if I need to start just pulling the honey off that I can right now to stop them from dearth eating, right? If we go into a dearth and all of a sudden they consume it all.
That's a good one, Michael. I like that one.
Bees' lives matter. That is a good
what
one.
BLM stands for?
Bees' lives matter. And
I have to use that the next time.
See, our high is on Saturday is going to be 58. I heard somebody at work said it has rained every weekend here for the last 17 weekends.
Wow.
So it's like,
yeah, it was like 9 or 10 weeks. The weatherman said, I mean, I won't say it's been a complete washout every weekend, but there was only one weekend that we had complete clear weather.
cooler weather will make the flowers last longer. That's my hopes, because normally everything would start turning brown here, right? Wilting and grass burning out and stuff like that. And we don't have that problem, but I do have the problem with them clustering at night. I went through some of my nukes out there today, and my 5-framers still have 2-3 frames of brood in them that are getting ready to just explode. So I was out there. So, I've got some that are in 5/5 that now are going to graduate to a 10-frame box. And now I've got 5-framers that need to get that second 5-frame on them to allow them to come up there. Where'd you go, Brian? He took off.
Oh, I'm still here. I like to do comments on my phone so I don't have to flip back and forth on the computer.
So did you catch what I bought?
I did.
So now we got to hear the Beakonomics from Brian. Matter of fact, I need to make a slide that says, and now Beakonomics from Brian. It comes sliding in, and it's like a whole thing, and then boom, there's Brian on the screen.
I'm gonna say it was a want and not a need. First off,
I'll agree.
And I'm sure it'll pay for itself eventually. I think though, if you had a business and you were doing the accounting and you were looking at the books, you probably would have held off on that purchase for a little bit. Right? But you don't, so you could justify it.
The other side of that business too is that when you have the money, you have to be able to make those decisions kind of ahead of time, because next year I may need it and not have the funds to get it.
Right. And I have no idea what money you have coming in, so it's easy for me to say that from my armchair as well.
Well, nor do I, because Amazon is like this, my website's like this,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely up and down all the time.
And I like licensed products, so I'm sure it's going to be a great product, and I'm sure it's going to hold its value and all that good stuff.
Well, we'll see how it works, and if it. The main thing is, you want to see what it looks like. Where's my Better Bee tab? That's the sign of having way too many tabs open. All right, so this is what it looks like, Brad. It would help if I showed it. It looks like that. So it's basically, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It fits through the door.
It fits through the door. It's hand crank. So, if I had my Rathers, I would have bought the one with the motor on it to turn it. But if all I have to do is this to push frames through, it's probably not a bad thing. But The difference was I don't have 230 on my porch, and I'm running everything off extension cords right now, and that runs off 110. So, yeah, so that was the reason one of the deciding factors on that. Plus,
and it's nice that it's on casters. You can move it around.
And my other tank isn't on casters, so
yeah,
the idea
nice
is
feature.
Fill that up, move them to the other one, right? Fill it up, just load it full, and then extract out. And while the first 15-minute run is running, I can fill the table the rest of the way out. And so I should always have two to three runs from the extractor waiting to be extracted. And guess what? They'll be dripping all that honey that's got all the little fine bits into my uncapping tank as compared to in my extractor, which guess what? Alleviates, hopefully, my biggest complaint that I've been having is the bottleneck at the filter, right? So, so we'll see. I don't know. Who knows? As they say in Mexico, yo no sé. We don't know. And graduated in chemistry. Go figure. Does it have a trailer hitch? I don't know. I don't even know. How long is the tank? See, I should have done some more research on that. This says the tank holds 30 frames, and I'm assuming that's 30 frames after it's come out of the extractor, the uncapper. And my other one without the tabletop on it holds 40. So they're probably both 1,500 millimeter tanks. Table dimensions. Yeah, 1,500. So it's 150. So 150 centimeters is 1,500 millimeters, right? So that's the same size tank. So yeah, so now I can hold 70 uncapped frames. So if I run 30, I can move them over to the other uncapping tank. And really, hey, just think about it. Even if I didn't have the other uncapping tank, that I could get a full extractor's amount of uncapped frames in my uncapping tank, or in my uncapping tank, to be able to move over 30 to 30. Look, hey, the math works out. So, and I guess I will probably bolt my extractor to the ground once I figure out how everything's gonna line up in my house there. Yeah. And that's another thing I'll probably do this weekend is just take the pressure washer out there and go ahead and pressure wash the floor and squeegee all the water out of the building and use my wet dry vac to suck it up and get it all nice and beautiful, knock down the spider webs, and, get things in a little bit better shape. Between Bob and the rest of us is why Better Be is a $5 million a year company. Yeah, and the other issue is they wouldn't be a $5 million a year company if we had somebody closer to us to get the product from. But, I mean, like Brian said, he ordered it from a distributor, right, that is in your area and saved yourself a bunch of shipping.
Yep.
And I don't have that. But the caveat of doing that is you got to have a ton of money to do that. You got to be able to buy that product and bring it in. Even Man Lake, I think, is a minimum of $10,000 a year in purchases to be a Man Lake dealer. So could I do it? Yeah. Do I have the space to do it? No. I mean, I could. But it wouldn't look like a store. It'd look like a porch with a bunch of stuff on it, I guess I could turn it into something similar to a store, where they come in the back of my house and go into the porch and work it that way. But yeah, and Michael, that's what I've been doing, as I've been pulling off a little bit at a time and doing it. Why? Because that's how I have to do it. It's not necessarily how I want to do it. I'm more like, I would rather rip the Band-Aid off once, right? Pull all the honey, put it in there, do it, knock it out, I'm done. But I don't have that luxury. Well, I might have it now with this uncapper if it works like it's should. Then hopefully it's a little bit more fluid. But then see, then we get to that, and then there'll be another bottleneck that we'll discover, and then it'll be like, well, now I really need that clarifier, and and pump, and then oh yeah, well now I've got all that. Well, maybe I want to go into creamed honey now, or doing straws or comb honey, or stuff like that. So there's always going to be that next item, but what Charlie has taught me is it's better to just buy it if you got it and grow into it than to buy small and have to replace it. So, and I found that to be true.
Yeah,
so,
I agree with that.
Yeah, as long as you have a plan and you know where you're going with it.
Now a hobby beekeeper. Well, I think I'm still a hobby beekeeper. I mean, until I walk out of my job and don't have to go back, I guess I'll be I guess technically by my number of colonies, by definition, I'm a sideliner. But, it's...
The thing of it is the bees paying for their keep.
Yeah.
Well, to make sense, I'm not saying you have to make a profit.
Right.
But if you can keep working the bees, taking the money that you make by selling honey or queens or anything like that, wax, and reinvest that into your equipment, whether it be an extractor, uncapper, boxes, whatever, and you can break even, then that's not a hobby. Most hobbies cost you money.
Well, I made the analogy one time, and whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. Brian will tell me. But so, someone said, well, they're not a commercial beekeeper. And I said, well, I made the statement, do you sell honey? Well, yep. I said, then you're a commercial beekeeper. You're a small scale commercial beekeeper, but you are a commercial beekeeper. The first time you start bringing a product to a customer and you generate $1, it's no longer a hobby. You're putting out a product with your name on it. You are then commercialized at some scale, whether you're making 1 case of honey or 100 cases of honey, you're a commercial beekeeper. Now, not by beekeeping definition, right? I think, 100 colonies to be considered a commercial beekeeper? But in my mind is once you bring that product that you're selling, you're commercial. I mean, whatever beekeeping says, what level you are, it doesn't matter. You're selling a product and you're standing behind your product with the customer and you're selling it, you're commercial.
Yeah, I don't pay too much attention to like the hobbyist, sideliner, commercial kind of categories and numbers that go with them, because there's all different models of how you can make money as a beekeeper, and it's not just about how many hives you have. You can make money a whole bunch of different ways, like people like you selling products, right? What does that make you? There's nothing in the books that puts you in a certain category. It's
right.
All the numbers are about how many hives you have, and
I try to keep them kind of separated, right? Because swarm lure business really isn't my beekeeping business. It's separate, but will I use money that I made from swarm lure to pay for an uncapping tank and uncapper? I sure will. Right. It's part of the grand scheme. And to answer the question about the Bronco is, my wife has the hardest job on the planet. She takes care of my mother with Alzheimer's. So with that, I replaced a payment with a payment. So it wasn't a net, like going in the hole type of situation. Just a new vehicle. that I don't have to worry about maintenance on for quite a while.
I want to answer a question. Michael Buck talked about his extractor needs to be higher, so you get the bucket underneath the gate. You put your extractor, get yourself a pallet, put a 3/4 inch
Bolt it to
piece
the
of
pallet.
3/4 inch piece of plywood, screw that down to the pallet, and then you bolt or screw the extractor to that pallet. But make sure where you place the legs that there's a you got the 3/4 inch board, but also there's maybe one of the wooden slats on the pallet.
I can't show Matt what I bought. He's been after me about buying a new laser. I've been putting it off. And then
that's what I do. I have mine. It came with the original cargo pallet, and I kept it, and it works great.
I don't know.
And that solves any stabilization issues with your extractor as well, because it solidifies it on the pallet. And what I did too, I started out with a 9-frame Hilco, and it was super wobbly. So I bolted it to a pallet. And then there were times where I took a cinder block and put it right underneath the extractor just to give it added weight. And after that, it didn't move at all. So that solved the bucket issue and any wobble.
What extractor are you using now?
Well, I just got the 30-frame license. I haven't even used it yet, but that was one of my orders from Better Bee through the distributor.
So, okay, so to ask you a question, what was your major decision factors that made you go with Lyson over some other brands?
The quality. Yeah, the Hilco was okay. I had some problems with it. I didn't think it was the best quality. It did me well, and it was a great price for, it was a great value, I guess you could say. But, I went from crush and strain to borrowing an extractor from a club to knowing I wasn't going to waste any money on a hand crank or a 2 or 4. That was, yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
I don't understand why people even consider a hand crank extractor.
I don't have time.
I mean, this ain't 1920. This is 2023.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guarantee anybody who buys one of them within 5 to no more than 10 minutes of cranking that sucker, you're going to like, what the hell do I want this for?
Where's my kid? Right.
Now, where can we get the motor upgrade at,
Yep. So I did a lot of extracting last year, spending a lot of time in my garage at night listening to live streams and extracting a couple of boxes a night and then putting those frames back on colonies. And it's about time. I saw how much time I was spending, and I know I can save a lot of time by doing 30 at a time. And I had the Hive Butler uncapping tank, and it served me really well. But that was a bottleneck as well, because I could uncap only, 10 frames at a time, let them sit in there while I'm spinning, and it just slowed everything down. So it's about efficiency. It's about, time is money. And when you're trying to do a business, that really makes a big difference. How you can save time is how you can save money.
Right. So even if you had help that you were paying to do the job, it's still the less time that they have to do the job, the less money you're paying them to do it. So,
that's right.
I mean, it all works out. And for me, if you've got 5 hours and so when you're using the 8/4, right, then you're not even spinning, unless you're running 8-frame equipment. But if you're running 10-frame boxes, you can't even spin out one entire super in 15 minutes.
Right.
And so I knew that I needed to, get the bigger extractor. Now I was contemplating the 20, and Charlie's like, if you got the money, just go ahead with your single brood chamber management. You're going to get so much more honey that you're going to wish you had the 30 frame. So I went, so I was like, you know what? You're right. If I got the money to get the 30 frame, then just get the 30 frame, rip the bandage off.
Well, it's like my mentee that I've mentored for like 3 years. You know, he was same fence, 20 or 30 license. And
Well,
I said, you know, what are you going to do? Well,
so
I'm going to go and get, you know, let's say 30, 40 highs or whatever, maybe up to 50 or something. So he went ahead with 30, and he was extracting this week. And he was also looking at, okay, I got 20 frames. I can extract a third more frames, and like you say, faster and all that. And I said, what's the difference in price? I mean, I think at the time there was a 10% discount at the time. I said, well, that's going to pay you basically the shipping. It'll save on your shipping. And so he finally, like you said, he finally pulled the trigger on that.
Well, I was looking, where's it at? I'm trying to find the extractor. All right, so 30 frame, and I'm gonna try to flip flop where we can see what I'm talking about here. But let me present this. All right, so I assume this is the one you got too, Brian, right?
Yes, sir.
That's the same one that I've got, the 30 frame license. Right now, as we sit, the price of that extractor is $1,975. Okay, now you have to pay for shipping. But then you look at the Hilco 32 frame extractor is $400. Oh, it didn't swap. Why didn't it swap? Sorry. Let me remove that. And you look at the Hilco version of the hold on, what the hell is going on? The Hilco version is 32 frame extractor is $400 more than the license. It's 2 frames more, but for 2 frames, I'm not spending $200 a frame for me. And there's a couple things that I liked about the license, and I'm not saying that's a bad extractor. I don't have any experience with that extractor, but there were some things that I didn't like just from the design. All this stuff being right on the top, which for me limited the door opening up, right? So I can open the license pretty much all the way up to load it up. And the motor was under the bottom and the controller was off to the side. So I did like that more, and it's cheaper.
Yeah,
so,
Bob, you see Queen V's comment is definitely appropriate there. Free shipping with Hilco. That is true. So that is an added difference as well.
That is an added difference as well. So I know some companies don't have free shipping on some of the stuff. So like I said, it's not necessarily a bad extractor. I don't know. And probably what I paid for my shipping on my extractor, I don't even know if I could pull that up at this point. Let me see.
And then I looked at Maxant too, but they have a 20 frame for about $1,900. And everything you hear about Maxant is that they're backed up forever and it'll take you forever to get what you want. So that kind of put me off to that one a little bit. And then Daydant had some good stuff, but like Daydant's uncapping tank, everything was extra. The lid was extra, the rack was extra, and the Lyson uncapping tank came with everything. So that was another selling point for me for those. And then the Lyson creamer was the selling point for the bottling tank. I knew I was going to make the creamed honey in that eventually too. So that's why I went in that direction.
I cannot call 1-800-LYSON if I have a problem. I cannot.
I will say, when I had a problem with my Hilco extractor, I called and I talked to John directly, and he was super helpful, and there was great customer service as far as fixing the issue with it. So I will say that there's that.
And again, not saying it's a bad product or anything. Like I said, I haven't used it. I'm not trash talking it. I'm just saying that Lyson has been in the beekeeping business for years.
That's right.
Not 2 years.
Yep.
We're talking years and years.
And all these Hilco products are all brand new products. So there's definitely that.
Well, licensed from Poland. And if you look up their license webpage, I mean, they're a big time factory over there. Yep. And they supply a lot of European, the European area, I guess you would call it.
And if there's one thing I know about my European relatives, they pay once. They're not in the business of buying stuff like we do. Buy it here. Oh, it's broke. We'll just throw it out and buy another one. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. They're not, for me right now, the Hilco product is not time proven. We don't know where they're sourced from, right? I have a good idea where they're sourced from, but I don't know that to be the fact. But so, do I, if I knew that, hey, this is a Chinese machine or something, would it stop me from buying it? Probably not. If it's what I wanted, I would get it. That's just how I am. And but if you go to the, I should have probably just hit the license. When you go to
DC, they're not. That doesn't say they're made in America. They say they're
designed and assembled in the United States. So when you go to the licensed European site, they sell everything. Pollen clean. I mean, what we see over here is just a little bit. I mean, they got a full honey bottling line, probably more like what Bob Benny's using, that kind of deal. But I think even he does everything. He's got the ladies that sit in there and fill bottles for him, right? But they've got 59 pages of different stuff that you can buy that we can't even get here. So, not saying that I just know how the European mindset is. When they build something, they're buying it one time. They're not trying to buy it over and over and over again. This is our extractor right here. If it's the 30 frame right there. But yeah, so I mean, there's definitely pluses and minuses to every piece of equipment you get. It's just
hey, Alex,
the reasons why I bought mine. Buy what you want to buy. It's your money. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying.
But you talk about like your automatic and uncapping machine there, and I like Brian there is talking about getting a bigger. What did you buy as far as your uncapping tank type stuff?
It was the 1000 millimeter. So I think it can fit like 20 frames in it at a time. So I can use that like
Bob. What are you using? What are you using? A hot plane still?
Yep. That'll probably be my next bottleneck to address.
But that's the thing is when you have a 30 frame extractor, then it creates a different situation where, all right, I've got 18 frames. By the time I uncap 18 frames, I'm done. I'm not going to be, I don't want another 18 frames. I'm tired but now when you're doing a line and you got 30 frames going into the extractor, and let's say you've got all day, let's say you're working all Saturday as far as extraction or whatever. Now you got a situation where, yes, you want to have 30 frames in the waiting while it is, I know you can take that extractor and program it to where it spins up slow and increases automatically by itself. And there's a need to have that tank for those uncapping tanks and stuff. And my situation isn't quite the need is not quite there. Because the way I do it, because usually it's in the evening, I'm by myself. and I'll either get 1, maybe 2 loads done by 10 o'clock at night. And by that time I'm tired, and or by after the first extraction, I'm like, okay, it's Coke time, sit down.
Well,
But
the way I do my extraction is obviously it's not like a company where we're just slamming it in there. Like when you watch Ian Stepler's video, those people are working, right? So I'll pull it, and if I feel like spinning it out, then I spin it out. And
well, my question is, they'll say like Ian's, like one of them count extractors. You got, let's say it's a 60 frame extractor.
It's like $100,000 for that line.
Well, I know, but what I'm looking at is the time they spin that honey. They spin it for what, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, something like that. Now, are they getting every last drop of honey out of those frames? You know what I'm saying? Can you get it because of that machine? Does it spin efficiently that good?
Well, even mine, like when I set it, and I keep in mind, like I said, I'm not in a mad rush to get everything done like yesterday, right? So I set it, it runs for 15 minutes and it shuts itself down. And when I pull those out, will it have some honey droplets on the wooden frame? Yeah, but not like, I mean, you can tell it was extracted, right? Like everybody else's, but there's no honey left in the comb. And I've had plenty of time to uncap my other ones and drink a cold beer.
Now I've had some frames where they're uncapped and they've spun, and you know what? The honey didn't come out. It was like there was an air bubble situation or something there. And I went ahead with a uncapping fork and kind of raked them a little bit and then respun them. And then finally it shot out for, I don't know why, but kind of odd.
I'm thinking about selling my tabletop steam uncapper. The problem is that the thing is long, right? So it would be a shipping problem. But if somebody's around and wants to come pick it up, yeah, I'd probably sell it for probably $400. You
got a really small market for that though, because you need someone that's got the table that it fits on, right? It only fits on
you'll
one
have to have
tank.
The tank, right? So
the 1500, is that right?
Yeah, that's what I put it on. It'll go on. I think it'll go on the 1,000. It just doesn't leave you room to put the frames with as many frames in there. So,
yeah,
I think with that on there, I think it only will hold like 20 frames, right? Like half of it. So, actually, I just had how much I paid for that thing up here. All right, so in the spirit of transparency, dun, 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 I'll show you exactly what I paid for it. Right here. This was last year. I got this. Well, I'll even blow it up for you. Boom, so you can see it better. So the steam uncapper was, the tabletop steam uncapper cost me $435, we'll say. The uncapping tank with the cover cost me $961. So my 30 frame extractor cost me $1,975. What was the shipping? $527. So I paid a grand total of $3,926 for all of those things. Now, to put that in perspective, the item I ordered today was $4,054.16 or something like that. So I spent more this year on one piece of equipment than I did last year on an uncapping tank and the extractor and the steam uncapper I got last year. So have prices gone up? Yeah, I think so. A little bit. So yeah, there you go. Oh, that was with you see it says with the check Honeygate included in the price above. But this doesn't even have the valve, my valve that I bought to go on there, right? The pneumatic valve. I don't know if, do I have that email still? Let's see. Oh, see, y'all are taking me to dark places right now when I start looking at these prices. That's the same thing. Let's see. This was the next order. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, here we are. Let's present this one. So I think it's funny when people are like, I thought about getting bees. I should just have a book that has all these printed out and say, okay, well, you're thinking about keeping bees. That's awesome. But now how are you going to get the honey out? Okay, well, here's an option, $4,000. Here's another option, $4,000. Obviously, there's cheaper option, guys. I'm just being funny. So 18-gallon heated tank. Now, I don't have the water jacketed tank, right? I've got the electric coiled tank, $990. The bottling valve, $494. And
the no drip is like $250 now.
Yeah.
So that's like double that.
Yep. And then,
but those are the kind of things that save you money. You can bottle out of a bucket all night long, but bottling out of a bottling tank with a really nice valve, that's going to save you lots of time.
Oh, no comparison.
And then
freight, so if time is an issue for you, it's worth the money.
Freight was
but it's not just time. It's also the fact that you can go up to that bottling tank, and it's like going up to your faucet. You just pull the lever and put your bottle underneath there, and it comes out at the right temperature for flow wise, and you can bottle so many bottles so much faster.
And that was $367 in shipping. So if you've done the quick math, I've probably spent about $1,200 in just freight to get my equipment here. So can I separate wax in my tank? No. Oh, well, I technically I have. I just heat the honey up, the wax gets to the top, right? And then I run it all through a strainer and catch all the bits that come out at the
so you're talking about a bottling tank, or is you talking about
a capping tank?
Capping tank. On capping tank, you're separating your wax from your honey.
Well, they've got the tanks that have the valve on the top that you can run. It's basically, they call it a wax melter, but it's a bottling tank / wax melter, right? So you can go ahead and like when you're done with your honey, you could separate it out that way. But yeah, so I just what Bob is saying. Yeah, so mine is not like that, no. So, but my thing was I was doing it out of a 5-gallon pail with a gate on it. And then it didn't make sense when I had more than 5 gallons. I was having to fill another bucket and then pour it into a bucket to use the gate. So at that point, when I was having multiple buckets, it became more of a sense, hey, I can put 3 buckets in this one and just do it all at one time. And so that's how I went with that. Was it right or wrong? Now I'm looking back, I probably would have bought the one that Brian bought. The only thing is that's a 230 volt equipment, and the one that I've got is 110. So it would have required me to also get an electrician in to do that, right? So
am I pointing it at it? Can you see it?
Yeah. The inverter there.
So that was like $300 to invert it, so I didn't have to get an electrician. So that just plugs into my outlet, and then my 220 plugs into that, and it converts it for me. So it was an added cost for that too. So there's that as well, for sure.
So it does kind of nickel and dime. Beekeeping does nickel and dime you to death. It doesn't have to, but I'm hoping that now, other than like a clarifier or something, I can't see what else I would need at this point. You know,
He says tonight.
Yeah, will I create something in my mind that I have to have? Probably, but
yep.
You know, the thing is that that really everything I've got now should do everything I needed to do. You know, with the exception of, you know, a clarifier. But from what I understand with the clarifiers is you have to have a ton of honey in the clarifier for it to work properly, for the honey to bring the cappings up enough to where it gets excluded and the honey flows clean through it. I don't have one. I don't know. I'm just going, you know. And do we end up putting them in 5-gallon pails? Absolutely. But when you go to bottle, moving it from a 5-gallon pail to a 5-gallon pail, you know, I can keep it stored in 5-gallon pails and then take 3 of them pails and put it in my bottling tank and keep it warm. And
that's what I kind of grew into, is the fact that who was it? Somebody was talking about, yeah, I guess Alex was. He was using a 5-gallon bucket with a gate on it. Up until last year, I did. That's what I did. But I had a hot box to keep the 5-gallon gated pail in, keep it warm, which made the honey flow better instead of being like, you know, like molasses. You know, it's flowing like water for the most part. And then I had to go downstairs where my hot box is located in the house, carry it upstairs, put it on the kitchen table, and sit there and bottle. And then I'd always have in one room, I keep a certain amount of, you know, let's say so many 2-pounders and 3-pounders and 1-pounders and stuff like that. But I would get down to the point where almost completely empty, because it was a chore to drag, you know, to carry 50 plus pounds up from the basement all the time. Now with it, because I got more volume of honey coming in the last couple years, now I need a vessel that holds more honey for me to keep it from crystallizing and stuff like that. And so I got that 25-gallon max amp bottling tank. And now I've got a place to store 5 or 6, you know, a bottle. Well, I get about 54 pounds in each bucket. So it's about 6 buckets of honey in there. And
you can buy a lot of gates in 5-gallon buckets for $4,000. Absolutely can.
I don't do 4,000. It was $1,900.
He's equating to the amount of buckets that he could buy for the amount that I paid for my uncapping tank. But you know what?
Yeah, but when you're doing 1,000 pounds of honey, that's a whole lot different than 300 pounds of honey.
And then when you go out there, you know what? I can let that honey sit in that uncapping tank and go out there and drop a bucket on it and pop the gate open and get probably another bucket of honey right out of the uncapping tank.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's just like you can buy the Hive Butler, just like Brian had, bottling tank or uncapping tank, I mean, and it's $200, and you usually get it free shipping if you watch your sales. And I had a 5-gallon bucket, and I had the uncapper, which that actually snaps onto the rim of the bucket. And then I tried to use a paint strainer. And as the wax cappings got into the paint strainer, so you're trying to drip all this honey out of there, the darn strainer started moving in, and of course your cappings is sitting in honey. And it had
take that whole thing off and tie it off, and you put it in a press, and you press the whole wax out.
Now you got to have a press, and then you got to hang it up. You're talking a mess is what you're talking about. A total mess, and in dripping and all this kind of stuff. And it would sit down in the honey. And then I put a gate on the uncapping tank bucket and to try to drain the honey off and stuff. But I still had a wad of honey on those cappings.
Well,
So when I got my uncapping tank, it's like, okay, you uncap, it goes to the top end, it drains into the bottom. And over a period of 4 or 5 days in a 80 or 90 degree back porch, that honey will drain down into that tank. And then I would go in there. The top part would get kind of dry, and I would fluff it up with my hands.
I think I'm going to
And
try something different this year, maybe. So I'm going to buy a tall bucket, like a 7. I've got a 7-gallon bucket. So I might buy another 7-gallon bucket and put my paint strainer in there, right? And then drill holes in the bottom of that bucket and set it just above the 5-gallon pail. So when that top bucket is catching the stuff in the paint strainer, it's letting the paint or letting it roll through that bucket into the 5-gallon in the bottom. And
yeah,
it's simple, but then again, it's about the height of the tanks and all that stuff too.
but what I was getting at is the amount of honey that I recovered out of those cappings over a period. I mean, like you say, 3 or 4 days, it would, and I mean, that's a pretty good sized container. It would come up an inch or two of honey in there. And then I would skim off the dry cappings off the top. And then the ones that were sticky and wet, I would fluff them up so they would drain. And the amount of honey that I saved out of the cappings, it paid for that tank within the first season.
The thing I like about the license tank, and it's probably not just the license tank, a lot of them, that just happens to be the one that I have, that the legs are adjustable. So I can lift up one end of my capping tank after I'm done and tighten the legs down. And then all of that honey flows down to the gate. Right. And it's,
you got to put a screen, put a sieve on the 5-gallon bucket, and open up the gate, and you got clean honey. You got clean honey. You're in good shape.
And, but we're talking about all this expensive equipment. I get it, guys. But we didn't start that. That's not where we started. That's where we're at now, right? So right. Don't misunderstand. We're not saying that there's anything wrong with the way that everybody's doing it. We started there the exact same way, So it's just that the way we're envisioning our business and going forward is that's what we felt we needed to do to get that time advantage. Is what it is, basically a little bit easier for us to do it.
I mean, now Philip there is going to get the bucket and, kind of do what you were talking about and everything. And yeah, you could do all that, but that Hive Butler, it's ready to go. It's $200. You'll get $200 worth of honey out of the drippings, if not more. And it's just so easy. It's easy to clean, and you're done. And it's got a gate on it. I mean, I've
food grade. Like I made a homemade one at first before I got the Hive Butler, but as I'm selling at markets, it's food grade, not something that's just from Home Depot that I put my own little gate in it. So for me, that mattered too.
Yeah. I mean, it's $200, and it's simple. It's easy. And I guarantee you the amount of honey that you recover will pay for that thing in one season.
Yep.
And it doesn't really take a season. It just takes a couple uncappings and all. And it's like, I've drained that tank at least a couple times through, as you're uncapping.
Oh,
that's one of the cheapest buys that you could possibly buy as far as an upgrade.
The uncapping tank, this is the same thing. It's an uncapping tank, right? So the uncapping tank, I've probably gotten as much honey out of my uncapping tank or more than I've got from my first honey harvest, spinning it in the extractor, just from the drippings. And before I had that, it was just, hey, let's just, get what we can. And there's a huge difference. So, looking at James, my setup for James would be too small. It wouldn't, would it be better than what he has? Yes. But is it what he needs? No. So for him to spend the money on what I've got would be a waste of money. He would have to retool.
Right. But now, like Paul there from Hail Hives, you're talking about the different size operation. 500 pounds is not unreal. If you got 10 hives, or you should be able to get, depending where you're located, you might be able to get even more than 500 pounds. But I average, depending on, anywhere around.
Is
Here
Mark
lately,
Miller still over in the chat?
Yeah,
Yeah,
800
he's in
to
there.
1,000 pounds.
Mark Miller, how many 5-gallon pails of honey did you say you got last year?
Now, see, Philip there, he's talking 400 to 500 pounds. I'd buy the Hive Butler and capping tank in a heartbeat. But that's perfect size for something like that. I'm actually doing 1,000 pounds in a good year. 800 to I did 845 pounds last year. It works.
Yeah, and I do put, if I got fine cappings, whatever's stuck to them that doesn't drain off, I'll give them the wet cappings in a tray and let them clean them up. I do that, and then I put it right in my solar melter. But
that's what I do. Some people, don't you wash your cappings after it drains it out in your uncapping tank? And I say no. So I have a home built solar wax melter. I put the uncappings in that. They'll be melted within 3 hours. One of them 95-degree days outside. And I put a piece of a plastic tub, put about, I don't know, an inch or so of water in there. And that uncapping will have honey in it. It'll melt the wax. The honey goes into and you'll see the honey kind of floating on the top of the water with the wax around it, that is solid. Don't throw that away. What I found last year was I had actually it was a candy board, which is, like an upside down telescoping lid. It was pretty deep. It's about 3 inches deep. And I poured that water with that little bit of honey in there, kind of got it to where the bees could land up here and walk down towards the water, and they sucked it all up and ate it and took it back to the hive.
The Mark Miller said he did 150 gallons, which is 1,800 pounds. So then if you're using 5-gallon pails, well, like you said, it's at least 30 buckets. Then you have a storage issue. Let's say you don't have a honey house or you don't have an outbuilding. Are you going to put 35-gallon pails in your kitchen?
No, I put them in the living room.
Or the living room?
That's where I put mine.
So that's another whole issue.
Well, that's where the bottling tank comes in. That's where you need that 20. It's just like I talked to Jason of Bohemia Bees. He's got a 42. He's got the same bottling tank I have, but it's 42 gallons. And I'm like, Jason, why did you get something that big? He says, I want to be able to put all my honey into that tank, and I can keep it at a temperature where it's not crystallized, and I could go right there and bottle.
Hey, Paul.
But you have to get to that level that when you have that need and everything.
Well, I'll answer your question with a question, Michael. Be Well is in South Carolina, and they're in every Food Lion grocery store in the state of South Carolina. So I would say, yes, we do have the resources to do it. Now, do I have the resources to make that much honey? Well, if I've got 49 colonies, if each colony just makes one medium super, that's about 33 pounds we figured out, right? So 33 times 49 is 1,617 pounds of honey. So let's divide that by 12. That's put us in gallons, right? That's 135 gallons. So 135 divided by 5 is 27 5-gallon pails.
Or 2 barrels.
Or 2 barrels. So, and Mark said he sold all of his honey but 1 bucket.
Hey, I got Mark's Queens yesterday. It was awesome. You guys know I ordered 20 of the VSH Virgin Queens from him. So I think they hatched out on Sunday. He mailed them out on Monday. I got a nice little box yesterday around 12:30, and I had to go do a school thing. So I came home and I dropped them all in. Yeah. So Mark, I dropped all those queens in yesterday. I had a friend of mine come over, picked up a couple as well. So yeah, they're all in there ready to go. So I'm super excited to see how they turn out.
So I
moved a couple,
and I saw about 10 in that box or whatever that you had on the video.
Heard them piping?
Yeah, there's 2 different batteries, Paul. So there's probably like 12 in one, 13 in the other. And they came great. Every single one of them was alive. There was maybe 1 or 2 of the little JZBZs that had like an attendant or 2 that was dead. But I was super impressed. It was a nice, tight little package. Mark did a great job.
I saw a nice
So
box.
did it have in the battery? Did he put extra bees inside that box?
Yeah, there were bees in the JZBZ containers as well as in the battery. So
you had it a couple bees in the battery plus attendants.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
What do you put the wax on paper towels? I put it right on the metal, and I put a paper towel over the grate to strain it as it goes through.
Yeah, I think doesn't that really clean it, make a really super clean wax?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I use.
I got some nice white wax last year after coming out of that solar wax melter, and it was white as could be.
And sometimes if it's got honey in it, you'll get some honey in your catch tray. I just take the whole block off, rinse it out, throw the block back in there, and melt it again.
Yeah.
And Paul, how you doing, man?
Doing good. I got I got white wax last year and some yellow wax. I figure yellow wax I'm going to use to just recoat some frames, and the white wax, a little higher purity. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll start trying to do like Brian and make some like nice lip balms and other things to sell.
Well, it's uncapping wax is white.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything I've ever seen was yellow.
Oh, it is the whitest wax you've ever seen, Charlie. I mean, it's pure beautiful. All out of going through a solar waxer and 2 different levels of paper towel filters. That's it.
Nice.
Are you using the blue towel, like the blue shop towel, or the regular paper towel?
I think it's probably
or both.
It's probably a Sam's towel, paper towel.
Yeah, well, that's what I've heard is that if you use a paper towel, use the cheapest one you can get, the thinnest, cheapest one there is.
It works well. I got wax as white as the background of this StreamYard background here.
Yeah. But, again, when it comes to equipment, we like talking about it, but it's really whatever fits your operation, right?
Yeah.
What you're happy with. That's what it amounts to.
That's why I'm saying the difference between having 500 pounds or 5,000 pounds or 500,000 pounds. Ian can do what he wants to do in 55-gallon drums. That doesn't do anything for me.
I would like to hear sometime. Obviously, when Ian started, he didn't start out with that big line, right? I'd like to hear what he started with and when he made that decision that I've just got to upgrade.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I watch Ian's videos, and there's a lot of stuff that he does at the 5 million pound level that I can use at the 500 pound level. There's a lot of stuff that's directly applicable, and then there's a lot of stuff that's not.
Well, like I'm not pumping it out into a filter system and then into a barrel and all that stuff. I don't have that volume, and
Right.
I've never had that volume.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe this will be the year, but it's not looking like it so far. But
Yeah.
will I have to buy it next year? No. So
Yeah, you keep expanding incrementally there, Bob, and we all keep watching you. And you're like going, okay, I've got 50 hives, and then I got 12, and then I've got 35 hives, and I've got 2.
right. Well,
Back and forth, and yeah, if you have a 30 frame license, I like that. Is that what I need? No, I'll just run a couple more routes through my 8 frame Hilco. That's
Right.
fine for me. I'm only doing about 500 pounds a year.
Right. So that's the like last year, did I have 60 colonies? That was probably a stretch. I did have 60 boxes with queens in them. However, a lot of those were just 2 framers, right? So this year,
exactly,
I'm not counting any 2 framers. I'm only counting 5 frame nukes and production colonies. That's it. Whatever it is. If it's 5 frames or more of bees with a queen, it's a colony. If it's 2 frames, I don't count it. That's just the resource with the queen in it that I can pull out.
Right. So last year I had about 4 production colonies, and I did over 500 pounds of honey. This year I'm looking at about probably going to have 5 production colonies, and what I'm going to have 600 pounds of honey. I've got 10 colonies out there, but 4 of those are not production colonies. They're splits
So
and
you're
swarms and stuff
averaging
like that.
150 pounds of honey per colony.
One of mine did about 160 last year, and one of them did about the lowest one did about 80.
Really?
Yeah.
And for me, if I do 80, that's like super, super, super good.
That was my low colony, was 80 last year.
Well, you guys
Now,
got the benefit of.
Now, don't get me wrong. This year, the way the tulip's coming in right now, we're going to be light. I think we're going to be light this year because I stopped by. I was driving home yesterday, and I stopped by, and there was a tallow tree sitting there, and I looked at it, and I got out of my car and walked over to it and looked at the bud, and it all started crumbling in my hand. Not a good sign. So, I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to blossom like it has in the past. Tallow is either the bane or the bounty of our existence down here, and we will either get huge. Last year was a great year. This year, I'm thinking it's going to probably be a little sparse.
Feast or famine, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even have tallow here, so I'm just at the whim of whatever pops up, at
Now,
this point.
They're bringing in something right now. I don't know what exactly. We got ligustrums, I guess, are blooming and stuff like that, but I don't know exactly where they're getting a lot of stuff. I see a little white flowers here and there, and the yellow flowers here and there. Where they're getting it from right now, I'm not exactly sure, but they're bringing stuff. I mean, I got 3 deep boxes on top of a 2 deep brood chamber right now. And I'm fixing to go on a week's vacation, so I'm going to make sure that they've got plenty of room to bring in whatever's out there. And when I come back home, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier is we're not getting that hard boom flow. It's just kind of doing its thing. When it gets up to 70 and they get outside and get warmed up for the day, I guess they start flying, and there's pollen coming in, and there's some that aren't bringing pollen in, so I got to assume they're bringing either water or nectar in.
Yeah, right now we're not getting the big boom we got last year.
Yeah, it's the same.
Now, I was out in Colorado last weekend, Brian, and hey, I'm used to being out in Colorado in February where it's all brown and white. You either got brown prairies or snow on the stuff, but it was green out there. What's your flow coming in right now?
Well, we had like a week of like straight rain, which was pretty uncommon for us. So our flow started before that week, but after that rain, I went in and they kind of consumed part of what they were putting in. So that week of rain put us back a little bit, but I think in the long run it's going to do us really well because it's watering all of the trees and everything. So I'm just putting supers on some of my colonies. I'm just putting seconds on the ones that were the biggest that already had one super on it. So I'm trying to give them a lot of space. I've already pulled a bunch of splits off of mine, so I'm not worried too much about swarming, but I do want to give them a lot of space. So I think we're right on the edge of it really turning on, Paul.
Yeah, so I was joking with you. You know, I was out there for my nephew's graduation. I was like, I got sunburned, rained on, and hailed on all within about an hour out there while I was sitting out in his graduation.
But you,
And
you were in
Colorado.
California, so you were high and didn't remember none of it.
no, no gummy bears for me. Thank you very much. But congratulations for your son graduating this weekend, right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, good deal.
So hopefully we'll have good weather. It's kind of up in the mountains, kind of not too far from Conifer. There's like a mountain graduation outside. So as long as the weather's nice, otherwise it'll be like in the school. So
yeah. So what's your major nectar source out there?
You know, we don't really have. I couldn't really tell you. We have a lot of here in the metro area. We get a lot of the trees. So we do have a lot of basswood, a lot of linden trees. We have some catalpa. Once you move out of the metro area, yeah, go ahead.
You get catalpa tree you'll get something out of that. Because I got a great big one here and it's just starting to bloom, it seems to me. And I always look at it and there's some bees on it, but not my honeybees, it seems like.
Okay.
Do y'all have black locusts out there too?
Not that I know of. I don't know my trees that great, to be honest. So, you know, we have a lot of the fruit flowering trees that typically start the season. And then once you move up north, like in between the Denver area and the Fort Collins area, you'll get a lot of alfalfa, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but do they let it bloom?
Some yeah, some no. Depends. I know.
I know are they baling it for hay or are they running it for seed?
Again, I don't know, but Colorado in general isn't great for honey production, but I do know those areas are some of the best areas around me for honey production. So the people that make the most honey are kind of, I don't know, Paul, if you're familiar with the Fort Collins area. Yeah. Just between Denver and Fort Collins, that's where you're going to get a lot of the alfalfa growing.
Well, your problem is you've only got about a 2 to 3 month max window.
It's pretty short. Yep.
I guess between mid May and into July, into August a little bit, and then everything turns brown and dies off, and that's it.
That's exactly right. And we have no fall flow. There's nothing to take in the fall. And then going back to that honey extraction conversation, that's why, you know, I have a little bit of a different perspective because I'm trying to make as much honey as possible. So I'm pulling
short period of time.
Yeah, I'm pulling supers off, and if they're sitting in my garage and I'm not spinning them out, for me, that's kind of like money I'm not making because I want to spin those out and get them right back on colonies so they can fill them back up again. So I try to pull them off a little bit at a time and try to get it done that day and then go to my next colonies and put them on the next colonies and pull them off. So, you know, I'm still growing.
You're rotating those out rather than just stacking them up and just keeping them going until the end.
Yeah, and part of that is I'm still growing, Paul. So I only have so much drawn comb in medium. So, you know, I'm still building up that inventory of drawn comb, but it's also, I think I get more honey that way by putting those wet frames back on because
they'll fill them up.
That's right. They're going to work those wet frames as opposed to even just a drawn out comb that's dry, I think.
Yeah.
So are you doing anything like checkerboarding those to make them draw new comb while they're filling new comb too? So you get that?
Yeah, like I run 8 frames, so I'll put 2 foundations with drawn comb just to slowly build up. If it's a late split, I'll keep it in a single and then I'll put just all foundation because they'll draw some comb out. You know, I used to do a lot of swarm catching and they'll draw a lot of comb too. So sometimes I'll throw a whole whole super row of foundation on those too. So it depends.
Yeah, we all got the same issues no matter where we are. You know.
Yeah, but now like when he's pulling that honey super off and then spinning it, you're also keeping the hive stack lower instead of having skyscrapers.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You know.
Well,
And huh?
the other thing
When
is,
I put 3 deeps on top of a 2 deep, when I put 3 deep honey supers on top of a 2 deep brood chamber, oh my
Yeah.
goodness! I mean, you're talking getting a 6-foot ladder to take them off of there.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
what
I
I
want no
Why
part
are
of
you
that.
using deep honey supers? Man, that's like 100 pounds per
Yeah,
box.
I wanted to try to keep everything the same,
Yeah.
but
Well, that's
but
why I use mediums, you know.
I'm getting older too, and I may be keeping everything the same at a smaller rate here in the future.
Well, I mean,
We'll see.
that's like myself. People like, oh, you're using mediums for the single brood, which is 20 frames instead of 10. I says, well, it's all the same set of frames.
Yep.
It's all the same boxes. I can mix and match and do whatever. I can do anything I even want to do.
Well,
So-
you know, when you put that frame that's already drawn out, well, yes, you're slowing your rate of being able to draw out more comb, but they're not using as much of their nectar to draw comb, and so you're actually yielding more honey. That's at least that's the thought in my mind that
You are.
for putting it back on there quicker. So
Well, I like the ability to move frames between one and the other and make sure that they're the same size. You know, I've
Yeah.
seen too many people that have, move a medium into a deep frame and then have to deal with all that comb mess.
when I do
But
that,
I may go to 8s. I don't know. My wife is already telling me that she's saying, you need to get one of those hive lifters or whatever. So I've got her buy-in or whatever already to buying a hive lifter. So we'll see how that goes in the future.
Yeah.
well, the I was just reading the comments there, but with the like the medium and the deep that you're just saying, Paul, when I
Right.
do that, if it's in a honey box, what I'll do is I'll just take the comb and then that's my cut comb or that's my chunk comb that I cut off the bottom and
Yeah.
and put in a jar, make it look nice and fill it up with honey.
Well, from a management point of view, I like the idea of having everything the same size.
Yep.
Right.
From a old fart point of view, it's getting to be pretty heavy, lifting those things off of a 6-foot,
Yep. Which is one reason why I was like, even with my cinder blocks on my hive stands turned sideways to lower it down so I can get an extra box on there and maintain that same height. Now, some of my 10 framers that were in nukes, they're all the way on the ground. I just need to basically get 2x2s or something to stick under them to elevate them just a little bit.
Yeah. I like having them at least 2 feet off the ground to keep any vermin or whatever from being able to sit there right at the gate and harass them.
Let me see here.
Well, I'm going to bug out. It's after 11. I got to get up and go tomorrow. So I will see y'all guys later. See y'all tomorrow night at 8:00.
All right, Chuck, you coming on tomorrow?
Yeah,
I should be done. I got hay to bale tomorrow, but it's round bale, so we should be. It's a small parcel compared to what we've been doing, so we should be done tomorrow before 8:00 for sure. So
okay, a couple bags of Pop Secret, and you'll be ready to go, huh?
Yeah. My biggest problem is my sciatic nerve has been killing me for the last 6 to 8 weeks, and like today, I started in the tractor at 11:30 and. It was about 6:30. My leg was killing me, so I hardly could walk after I got out of that tractor.
Life after 60, buddy.
I know. It's just usually I go to the chiropractor and he fixes me up, but
I hit the big 5-3 next month.
yeah.
So, beginning of next month, so a couple weeks.
I'm 61. Charlie's over 60. I think Brian. He told me he was 50 years old, right, Ryan?
That's correct.
I thought you were closer to my son's age, but you said no, you're 50 years old and you got a kid that's graduating school. So,
yeah,
I don't know. We got to make sure that we can still make it after several years and still get to do what we like to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it for sure.
I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I'm old or anything like that. I feel
Oh, we saw you dance. We know you're not old.
He was doing the jitterbug. Yeah, he's
banana,
got it out
brother.
there.
yeah, I enjoy dancing. I like all that stuff.
Keeps you young, man. Keeps you
Yeah, it
vibrant.
does really. I see so many people that, you know, some especially used to be in years ago, they would retire and sit in a rocking chair in 4 years they were dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Welcome
kind of
to
stuff.
America.
And I don't think you shock your body in that sense.
Yeah.
So,
That's not gonna be
alrighty.
me. I may kill myself, but I'm not gonna die sitting in a lazy boy, that's for sure.
Me
Yeah.
too.
So,
Hey,
and I
have a
like,
good night, Charlie.
all right, we'll see you later.
Have a good weekend.
How's it going down by you, Paul?
It's going good. I think, like I said, I think where our flow's a little retarded from what it was in years past, and I think like I said, I'm going to Florida for a week now, but I'm putting boxes on just in case I get surprised when I come back. Want to make sure I don't get surprised or whatever coming back and say, "Hey, you missed it, buddy." So that's what I'm doing tomorrow is probably putting another couple deep boxes on every hive that I've got just to make sure they've got enough room, don't swarm, and have enough places to put honey. Some of what I've got's already drawn comb. Some of what I've got is new Pureco or our Premier Foundation or whatever frame. So hopefully they'll draw some and pack some. So we'll see. Some of what I've done in the past, though, is when I do some checkerboarding, they do some funky kind of stuff and draw one comb really fat and don't put stuff in the other one. So I'm a little leery about that, but you know, I got to do what I got to do in order to try to make some more brood comb for next year.
And how do you typically sell your honey? Or do you sell your honey, I guess is the question. What do you do with your honey?
I probably, like I say, I probably give away about a third of it to friends, family, and all that kind of stuff, people that help me extract and all that kind of thing. And then I probably sell about 2/3 of it. And it comes from, actually, my daughter has been my best salesman. She's a labor and delivery nurse at the hospital. And all those ladies and doctors and stuff at the hospital, they want it. And she does really well.
Great for selling lotion bars and lip balms and all that stuff there too, Paul. That's a great market for those kind of products.
She's probably sold I don't know, $600 worth, or $600 or $800 worth last year, and she does really well selling at the hospital. And then last year, for the first time, I set up a table at the end of our road in the neighborhood and sold a couple $100 worth sitting out there. I will probably expand that. I don't want to sit there like Lee. Lee, you know, I talked to him before, and he goes several weekends, you know, to the farmers market, and I don't want to tear. Yeah, I don't want to tie up, you know, 10 Saturdays in a row just to sell, you know, $300 or $400 worth of honey.
No, that's why I like my truck to the edge of my yard with a sign that says local honey. And I can go out to my apiary because I can see my truck, and I can, if someone pulls in, I see them, and I can stop working my hives and go out and sell the honey, and then I can come back, and you know, just makes it easy. I don't have to sit there.
Right. So my daughter is my number one salesperson, and then my wife is my sales manager or whatever. And like at church and stuff like that, she handles all the people there. I stay out of it, and she sells it all to different people. So we do good. I mean, we sell probably, like I said, 2/3 of it and give away a third of it. Like I said, last year at Hive Life, Bob, I think I gave you a wine bottle full of it or whatever. I think Brian, I gave you a pound while you were there, and you were reluctant to take it, but I gave it to you anyway.
Well, I'll make sure you get some this year, Paul.
Okay. Yeah. So one of my things was last year to all these YouTube people, I gave a wine bottle full of it, and all the speakers that were at Hive Life conference, I gave a bourbon bottle full of it. It said Hail Hive, Single Hive Select, like Single Hive malt bourbon or whatever. So I gave a bunch of people that kind of stuff last
Those
year.
are
So
really pretty.
I gave away probably 50, 60 pounds of it or whatever. Last year they're just at Hive Life, just a kind of thing. And I don't care. I'm a hobby beekeeper. I'm not in this like some of these guys. I'm not in this like Brian, yeah. Now Bob's a hobby beekeeper too, although he's he's spending a lot more money than I am on a lot of like big shiny things and toys or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not in this like Bruce. I'm not in this like Greg Burns. I'm not in this or whatever to try and make a living or stuff. I do like it because hey, this is a nice hobby that can pay for itself.
Yeah.
In the long run, I've bought several $1,000s worth of stuff. I've probably sold less than what I've paid for stuff, to get into it. But ultimately, in the long
But
run,
over time, it should pay for itself.
Over time, we'll probably break even. Now, is that 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, or whatever? I keep buying things and coming home with things from Hive Life with a full pilot full of new toys to bring home. And I know Brian flew in and took home a whole U-Haul full of stuff. So he's kind of on the negative side of things right now. But
you're going to drive down and pull it back next year, right?
Wasn't quite a U-Haul. It was just a rental car, but we definitely packed it full of to the max, pretty much. I don't know. I don't know what our plan is this year. Will we fly out and drive back, or drive and drive back? That is yet to be determined.
But hey, I got frames at $1.69 a piece.
Yep.
Where else can you get frames at $1.69 a piece?
Right. I bought a ton of frames as well.
Yeah. So I mean, and then you bought foundation at what, $1.59 a sheet. You can't get $1.59 a sheet and get it fat. So I mean, you throw it in the back of your car and bring it home at $1.59 a sheet and $1.69. So you got, essentially $3 for a frame,
right?
Of good Pureco or Premier foundation, and I bought them. I got Hilco's frames. Hilco's got some nice frames. They're nice and meaty at the top and nice and meaty at the bottom, and I build them myself. But there were some people there I did not buy because I didn't have room without flying my wife home back on an airplane to buy the wax dip boxes that what was it, Appalachian Hivery was doing. Those seemed to be a good deal. And then some other people had a good deal on, I guess it was painted boxes with frames and foundation for essentially, I forgot what it was now, but it was like $45 or $50 a box for a box and 10 frames and foundation. Oh my goodness.
And the other cool thing for me was I got a chance to look at all the different extractors. I knew I was going to put money into new extractors, so I could see them. That's right. I could see them all in person and comparison shop and, talk to the people.
So you ended up with the big license too, just like Bob, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got my 8-frame Hilco, and right now that's sufficient for me.
Sure.
Yeah. I have to run more cycles through it, but that's okay for me.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that at all,
So I've got 5 production hives. I'm trying right now. I've made some contacts, but I actually got a negative answer so far. So down here in Louisiana, we've had some floods, if you all have probably seen from the rest of the country. And through the parish here in Louisiana County, where y'all are, buys property that has flooded and then says you can't build on here again. So it goes to the county of property, and they say it has to be open space property. And I'm trying to get to where they say, okay, I can put a garden there, I can put bees out there, I can do something on that property, even though you say you could never build a house here again, right?
Right.
Because they've already paid for somebody's $300,000, $400,000 house, and they said we ain't got to do this again. It has to stay open space. So I'm trying to get to where I can utilize that as a bee yard, remote bee yard from me, and put some hives out there. We'll see how that goes. So
Nice.
far, they've been a little reluctant to do that, saying no, it's got to remain open space. But I'm like going, it will.
Right.
From the long run, I've already paid for that property as a citizen of the United States. Since FEMA or HUD or whoever it was paid for that, I've already bought that property. Let me use it. And if I need to lease it, now I don't necessarily want to buy it. They say, well, we can't sell it. I said, well, let me lease it for 30 years.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Sure.
So I'm still going down that road. It's like BLM land out there in Colorado,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some things about some weird things about BLM land where people have rented it for $1 an acre out there, and then the federal government has paid them money not to plant crops on that land. So
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
that's
And
there,
I've made I've built my business putting a couple hives here and a couple hives there in people's backyards and like a little farm here and there. And it's helped me get to the size that I'm at, but in the short term, but in the long term, it was hard because I've had 2 hives in this person's backyard, and then I would have to drive to get 2 hives in another person's backyard. And I was just spending so much time in the truck and so much money on gas. It's been my goal last year and this year to kind of consolidate. So I got a yard this year that I can put 10 hives on, and it's a beautiful area, and I'm really excited about that. And that's what I'm looking for, is more places like that instead of 1 hive, 2 hive here and there. And I
right.
still have a couple of those, but most of mine right now are 4 or 5, and then I've got the 10 colony one, and I'm still waiting on the Aurora site to get their act together to put 20 hives there. But
Right.
and that's been hard because my backyard has been packed, because I keep thinking, oh, next week it'll be ready and then I can drop some hives in. I've been filling in gaps in other spaces in the meantime, and I just got all those queens from Mark. So now I've got like 15 splits in my backyard with like 3 or 4 production colonies and a couple nukes that are queen right. And I'm still waiting for the call to be like, okay, move some bees in. So I'm trying to keep them in holding, but that's been tricky for me. But
So how big's your home site?
I have about a half an acre, and it's
That's
in
me.
suburbia. So
Right.
I have really good neighbors, and I try to keep my hives down low so not everyone can see everything in my backyard.
Right.
So
I've got 4
yeah,
hives in my backyard, but the ordinances for the parish here, the county, the parish here says for a half acre lot, you can only have 4 hives, and you can have 1 nucleus for every 2 hives that you have.
that's a good rule. I like that.
So essentially, that limits me to 6 total.
Yeah.
Right now, on a half acre in my neighborhood, I've got 10, and because I bought that horizontal hive from Ricky Rourke, and right now that's got 3 hives in it, and I've got a swarm, and I've got something else that the split that I did last year. So I've got 10 hives on my property, which is really over the max. So I've got to find another place where I can put some bees and grow those bees.
Yeah, and one thing I've learned is that we have ordinances like that too, and every city has different rules, and I've learned that these are complaint-based ordinances. So as long as your neighbors are happy, which we try to make sure we keep them happy, chances are that nothing's gonna happen. And I've pushed the limits a little bit just because things have been going well and we've had no complaints. And, you know, if we had different responses from our neighbors, it wouldn't be in the amount of bees I have in my backyard. And most of them are pretty small. And I also there's a guy I knew that did have animal control knock on his door. This was like 4 years ago. And they said you got 72 hours to get compliant. So when I heard that story, I kind of freaked out a little bit. And then I kind of went through my head and I was like, okay, what happens if that happens to me? And I do have a plan. So if it does happen to me, I know what to do now instead of like panicking when that happens. So
yeah. Well, I'll just requeen 3 hives and pack them all together and say, here, I've got 4.
Stack them and put different directions. That's just 1 hive. That's not 2. They don't know. So yeah, there's different things you can do.
And so the first thing I did before I even did bees, so I started doing bees because I got a garden and I wanted to pollinate my garden. And so I said, I'll do 2 hives. Well, 2 hives.
Like Grayson.
2 became 4, became 10.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did is go into my neighbors and say, hey, is anybody like EpiPen allergic to bee stings, you know, kind of thing. I didn't want to cause a problem by any of my neighbors or kind of stuff if anybody was allergic. And then, of course, you know, 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of honey cures all ills, you know, with your neighbors or whatever when you come around stuff. So I make sure I treat them right at the end of the year.
Yeah, and we have chickens and ducks too, so we give them eggs all the time, and that keeps them happy.
See, I cannot have chickens are specifically spelled out in my restrictions. You can't have chickens. It says you can't have livestock.
Well, bees are livestock too.
Bees are considered, well, I consider livestock like goats and cows and stuff like that. So I called my HOA president and said, hey, and he said, you know, no autopsy, no foul. You know, if you get okay with the neighbors kind of thing, then you're good to go.
Yep.
I got to see if I could put all these in one of those bubble mailers. Jason Crook at Bohemia Bees needs some. So,
where did you get bubble mailers from?
The Amazon.
Okay. Have you done Sticker Mule?
No, but I'm paying like $0.25 a piece.
Okay. So I got
those good looking ones.
Those look
ones.
Nice.
Bubba mailers with my logo and everything on them on both sides. And they were.
What are you shipping those?
I haven't shipped anything in them yet, but I bought them anyway.
Oh, you're talking about all my gadgets.
You can ship bubble mailers to Bob in your bubble mailer.
I want to say I got 50 of them for like $30, Bob.
Yeah. Every once in a while, Sticker Mule will have like a sale, and you can
do
pick them up really well.
I don't think I can get all this in one. I might have to put it in a box.
I got the paper tape from them. I got some stickers from them. I got some other things from them. They've got little deals. As long as you buy their deals, they're a good deal. If you try to buy them off of their regular retail price, it's a little high. Yeah. But what I was telling you the other night on the stream, Bob, is that Print Runner. You started looking up Print Runner.
Right.
That's actually a pretty good website. And if you're buying 1,000 or 2,000 labels, which you think is good night, 1,000 labels, 2,000 labels, you're going to use those over about 3 years. If you start selling a lot of pounds and half pounds and pound and a half, you're really going to use up 1,000 labels pretty quick.
Right.
And they were a pretty good deal. I think it got down to about, like I said, 5 cents a label or 5 or 6 cents a label.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's I'm paying, I think, 9 cents a piece for my labels for the swarm lure and stuff. Oh, will it fit? If it fits, it ships, baby. That's what we're going with.
If it fits, it ships.
It'll be, well, the thing is, I'm trying to get this packed because of the long weekend, right? I need to get it in the mail tomorrow. Otherwise, it won't get there. It might get there Tuesday if I ship it tomorrow, but definitely is not going to get there that early if if I have to wait to next Tuesday to be able to ship anything else. So.
Well, I tried to ship 2 pounds of honey in UPS's small priority mail box, which is supposed to be like $4.95.
Right.
But when I got done, it was $12.55.
Yeah, shipping is crazy. Be right back.
You start sending 2 pounds of honey for $12. I mean, that starts dipping into your profit margin pretty quick.
I'm not a fan of shipping out honey at all. No,
No,
it's just way too expensive.
It's not a way to go. You got to sell local.
Yep. And we bottle everything in glass too, so that just makes it heavier. So, we have like relatives and special customers that we'll send it out to, but I don't want to send out honey. And that's part of our marketing is selling local raw honey. So we like to spend time at the markets and shoot the shit with people. And my wife and I are 50. Our kids are older now, so that's kind of like what we do on the weekend together. We go to the market and we just hang out together. So it's fun.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in my checked bags coming out to Colorado to give it to my brother. But other than that, yeah, it's sold here locally to people.
Now, have you ever had it like taken away by TSA, or do you keep it in super small containers?
As long as you put it in a check bag, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you try to carry it in a carry-on, yeah, you're over 4 ounces, you're screwed.
Yeah, so 4 ounces is the limit.
Yeah. But check bags, you're good to go.
Okay.
The only problem is I'm coming from 39 feet above sea level to about 8,600 feet above sea level.
Yeah, a little different air pressure.
Has a little bit of when you get done with it,
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this invoice.
While you're doing that, let me tell a story about a job I got today. There's this guy I met maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember how he got my contact information, but he has some sort of disability. I'm not sure if it's MS or what, but he loves bees, but he can't really keep bees. But in his house, he has 2 observation hives. So he called me up again. I don't remember how he got my contact, and he likes to get bee weaver queens, but he needed bees to basically support those queens. So he ordered the queens and he asked for like a queenless nuke from me. And then periodically, like he has 2 observation hives and they're 8-frame observation hives. So 4 deep and 2, I don't know how to explain, 4 by 2, right? So they're pretty good size observation hives. And he just watches bees from his house and lets me know when they swarm out. So there have been times when I have, thank you, Mark, when I have caught a swarm at his house. And today he called me up saying he needs more bees for his queens that he's getting. So I'm selling him 2 queenless nukes, like a 5-frame nuke that's queenless. And so that's going to be $300. I was like, oh, a nuke without a queen. You're a good customer. He's a great guy. So I gave him $150 per nuke, right? Without a queen. And that's just another way to make money with bees. Again, I don't remember how I met the guy, but
sounds like a pretty good deal. You're not having to guarantee a mated laying queen or anything. You're just selling them a box full of bees, huh?
And now's the time where I need to still pull back my colonies a little bit.
Right.
So
it's
not a bad problem at all. And tomorrow I'm going to help this girl. I have a couple of management gigs in a pretty rich part of Denver. And this girl is also like a gardener in this area. And she called me up one time looking for help to do like an oxalic acid vaporization. She had all the equipment, but was just kind of nervous about the electricity and everything. So I went out and I helped her and I showed her. And it was one of those things like, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And after this, you're not going to need me to do it anymore because you're going to feel confident doing it. So
Right.
she's called me periodically to help her catch a couple swarms. And really, her situation is she's a gardener and she's learning to be a beekeeper. So the rich
Right.
people who she gardens for wanted bees as well. So she kind of took it on and is learning as she goes. And she's gotten to the point where she's feeling over her head. Or she made splits this year and her colonies keep swarming out. So she called me last Saturday, kind of panicking, and I was trying to talk her off the ledge. And as we kept talking, she's like, well, can you come out and help me? So tomorrow I'm meeting her at 8:30, and I told her I have till 11. So we have 2.5 hours, and I'm just going to go through all of her colonies with her. So that my fee is, I typically charge $90 per consultation, but she's like, I'll pay you per hour. I'll pay you $90 per hour. And she's just invoicing her customers. So I'm going to get paid $90 per hour to go play with bees in the morning tomorrow.
There you
So
go. School out there. You're done.
tomorrow's my last day. I don't really have to be there because I teach math and there's no class there. So my kid is going in for like graduation practice and they have like final support meetings. So I'll probably show up for like the last half hour. Tomorrow's my wife's birthday as well. So I'm going to go do the bee thing and then try to spend as much time with her as well. So after tomorrow, well, after Saturday, really, my whole life is just going to be the bee stuff. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, Mark, I got pins in, buddy. I got more pins than allowed by law.
So take her to Bojo's and get her a nice mountain pie, and you'll be ready to go, right?
They have Bojangles
Okay.
out there where you guys are?
Not
No,
Bojangles.
Bojo's. It's a pizza
Bojo's.
place. We actually we went out to a steak place tonight to celebrate like her birthday and Cam's graduation. So that was a really nice night all together, all the four of us.
Yeah, we always try to go to Bojo's, and every once in a while we'll go to Red Robin or whatever because we don't have Red Robins here. Well, I guess we do now, but
Which Bojo's do you go to? Which one?
there used to be one down on South 470 that closed.
Okay.
But we still go to Idaho Springs and we go to Evergreen.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's
Last
some
time we
ones
went to
that are good
Evergreen on
go.
the way back in to the airport, but it didn't open till 11 o'clock, and we still had to catch a flight. So we were like there right at opening. Ate our pizza, jumped back on 70, and flew out to Pena Boulevard and tried to get on an airplane. So
the Idaho Springs one is probably the nicest one, and that's a nice little town there too.
But it's always crowded because they always got something else going on in town. So it's like we went to Idaho Springs last time and going to go to Bojo's, and we drove through town. We said, screw this. And we just got right back on and headed out.
It is a small town, and there's that main street and pretty much nothing else, right?
Yeah.
There's that Argo. Go ahead.
Now that's one of our go-tos every time we come out there.
Yeah. There's in Idaho Springs, there's the Argo Mill. That was a really cool place to go to because that's mining towns right there. There's so many different mines there, and the Argo
Canyon
Mill
City.
Yeah. And that mill just basically a whole bunch of different mines fed into the mill, and the mill was a giant processing place for all the ore. That's what I love about Colorado. I grew up in New Jersey, and you don't really see the history so much. Like you can go to Morristown and see the house that Washington stayed at, but here in Colorado, you can see the old dilapidated mines that are all falling apart. You can really imagine what it was like to be out here as a miner. Just 100.
How long you been out there?
We moved out here in '96. So my wife and I are originally from New Jersey. I graduated college and left as soon as possible.
Yeah, my company's headquarters in Livingston.
Okay.
Outside of Newark, probably about 40 miles west of Newark.
Okay. My dad
worked like history here. There's a lot of obviously Civil War history in South Carolina, right? Hell, we started the damn thing.
Right.
Yeah,
you bunch.
but
You bunch of rebels out there, yeah.
They actually, like on the side of the state house has bronze stars on the side of it, where Sherman, when he came through and burnt down the South, right? So
Right.
they thought that they were safe because they didn't think that the cannons could reach them from across the river. And so they were firing cannonballs from across the river. And as they were hitting the state house and knocking chunks of the building off, instead of repairing that, they actually ended up later on just putting bronze stars on it as a part of history where every cannonball hit it.
Cannonball hit, yeah.
And then the Confederate Treasury, where they used to print the Confederate money, is now a Publix grocery store. They wouldn't let them tear it down in the building, but they did allow them to remodel the building and repurpose it for it's a grocery store now. So
I like Publix. I'm from Florida originally. Publix, go get your pub sub. We're good to go.
they've got with that, the rumor is this is like that when Sherman was coming to raid the city and started shooting cannonballs at the town, that they took the plates that they used to print the money and threw them in the river. So supposedly there's all these plates that they were printing Confederate money with in the river in our town. So eventually someone will find that'll go on a mission and find it and probably, make some money. But we got a nice state museum here and a nice zoo and stuff like that. But other than that, the town's pretty crappy, but we got those things.
I've got a CSA $1 million bill, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
$2.95.
Worth nothing. Yeah.
Financially, but I bet you to someone from a collector would probably pay you pretty good.
It probably is. It's not like your Ethereum or your Bitcoin that you go mining out there all the time. But
yeah, I'm not even mining that now because the electricity costs more than I'd mine with my miner rig, so it's shut off.
Yeah.
It's out in the honey house.
Yeah, we still talk about that war of northern aggression that took place here on us in the South,
Yeah, you're the second person that I've heard refer to it as that now. The war of northern aggression. That's funny. But anyway, guys, it is 11:45 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm going to go ahead and shut off the live stream after 2 hours and 39 minutes. And, I appreciate all the super chats, even yours, Paul. And
I figured I'd give you a couple dollars just to keep you up. That's payment for the electricity.
I just think it's funny, man. I watch like the stream team and it's like people are standing around a stripper pole just making it rain money on them. Like, we do this 4 or 5 nights a week, and I'm lucky to get like a super chat once or twice a month, maybe.
Well, that's what I did. Bob's like going, man, they get super chats over there all the time. So I'm like going, okay, here's $3, Bob.
$3. You can buy 95% of a gallon of gas.
Yeah, something like that.
But anyway, guys, I appreciate all of y'all. Hey, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you guys chat.
Have a great Memorial weekend, gentlemen. And I don't know if I'll be there Tuesday because I'll be in Florida with my folks and brothers and everything. So
enjoy your time off and time away, man.
Yep. Have a great Memorial weekend. And
yeah, you too.
We're gonna try. I might get to work some bees if I'm ducking raindrops all weekend, though. That's going to be the problem. So
there you go.
We'll see. But anyway, guys, have a good evening. Charlie's on tomorrow night, so come. We'll be over there. So come hang out with us over there tomorrow, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right. Good night, Bob and Brian.
Guys,
have a good night.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.